almighty Phil. Oh, man. Another day at work, baby. Let's go. What's the clock? Let's go.
It's good to see RB1 happy, and it's good that you guys joined us again for the Verizon Vikings Training Camp Live. Practice number 9 just ended. We have another loaded show for you guys today alongside Vikings team reporter Eric Smith. We'll have the 3 observations coming up. We'll have position battles, but first to start the show, we like to bring in the rookie wide receiver from the University of Miami, KJ Osborne. KJ, how's it going, man?
It's great. How you guys doing?
Good. Training camp, first training camp. It's been different for every rookie right now, but for you, how have you been adjusting to the new norm of what training camp is right now?
It's been fun. So, this is my first training camp, so I don't know any other way. So, this is kind of just how I'm going about it, but it's been fun. Just got to adapt, how we learn off the iPads and, going into the field, but it's been really fun, a lot of learning.
KJ, I wanted to ask you about your versatility. We know that you played wide receiver and punt and kick returner in college. How are you kind of balancing all those roles in the NFL when the level of competition has increased, and your time is maximized? How are you balancing all those positions at one time?
It's a job. It's just what I've always done. Just managing my time, studying what I need to for special teams, studying what I need to for receiver, whether that be inside or outside. Like you said, just trying to make myself valuable and help the team any way as possible.
You talk about helping the team. The other day you tweeted out blue collar. How important is that blue collar mentality right now during the dog days of camp? The days are starting to run together right now.
Right. That's just how I always, that's what I have growing up. I was a 2-star recruit, wasn't heavily recruited. I just kind of had to, go the hard way and build my way up. So that's the way I play, with a chip on my shoulder, a blue collar mentality, just to get it done the hard way. So that's me.
Yeah, Gabe, or KJ, you're doing a great job. Specifically, when we look at special teams, has there been a big transition with maybe the speed of the game on punt returns or kick returns? Anything stand out to you there?
I wouldn't say the speed of the game, not right now for special teams. I would say, just the detail, just how important it is. Every teams, whether we kickoff, kick return, just the detail of it. Coach Moof always talk about timing and spacing, hand placement, things like that. Just the detail. But the speed of the game for special teams, I think I got that down right now.
Nice, man. Well, before we get you out of here, I got to ask, of course, before you got drafted, your ringtone was the NFL draft selection. Have you changed that yet since you got drafted?
Yeah, I did. I changed it after draft day.
What is it now?
It's something normal.
Oh, gotcha.
No, it's something normal now. But I still get chills. Pulling up to the facility every day. It's still a dream come true.
Nice, man. Well, appreciate you joining the show.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for having me.
No problem. KJ talked about special teams, which leads us to our next point. We got 3 observations coming up. 3 observations up now. Special teams. It starts off with that point of the game, that point of practice. But speaking of that special teams unit, what was something that stood out to you today?
It was very detailed, and we were out there to practice. It was probably the hottest day of practice so far. It was hot, it was sweaty, it was intense. But as KJ mentioned, the details of special teams were the focus early on in camp. Like you mentioned, Coach Moof, he had his guys practicing downing punts inside the 5-yard line. He had full gunner work going, where 2 defenders were up against one gunner trying to fly down the field and cover punts. 2 guys that stood out to me in that drill was running back Tony Brooks-James and wide receiver Alex Holland. So those younger players on the roster, the guys trying to fight for a roster spot and make a team, they impressed early on today, and that kind of set the tone also for the rest of practice.
You talk about Alexander Hollins. We had him on the show a couple days ago, and he was talking about making the most out of his opportunities, whether that's at receiver or special teams. How important is it for a guy like that to, be able to get some of those key valuable reps at that special team spot?
It's extremely important, and he did that. He translated that. He went from doing well in punt return and punt coverage drills to then doing well in one-on-ones. And he, drew a flag in one-on-ones on Chris Boyd, and he then beat Chris Boyd down the right sideline for a touchdown in one-on-one drill. So it was a good day for Alexander Holland, and the more he can showcase his versatility, the more he's going to impress coaches.
You talk about one-on-ones, that brings us to observation number 2. The physicality today in one-on-ones was second to none. Every practice gets better, right? But today was arguably the best practice we've seen, and that's what you want. But one-on-ones, it was press coverage each play. You had Holton Hill start out one-on-ones with the PBU against Adam Thielen, and that just translated to the rest of defense. Who was a guy that stood out to you in one-on-ones that, brought that physical presence?
Yeah, it was Holton Hill. He looked good. Mike Hughes looked good in one-on-ones. He batted away a pass. And kind of as Gabe mentioned, it was the most physical practice that we've had so far in camp. Whether it's one-on-ones and press coverage, like Gabe said, team drills were intense.
Yep.
It's just good to see as Gabe mentioned, as the dog days of camp roll on. It was hot out there. The days are counting down for the regular season, that guys are really putting in good quality work, and that's what coaches want to see, because, we're only about 2 weeks or so from having to make a 53-man roster here, and, guys are going to have to start separating themselves from the pack, but they're starting to do that now.
I think one thing that stands out to me is the fact that the veterans led the way, and that leads us to observation number 3. The veterans led the way throughout the entire day of camp. When you have all these rookies who, are starting to feel like the days are starting to run together, it's so key for these veterans to lead the defense. To lead the entire team and say, like, hey, just come on our back, just watch how we practice, watch how we do it, and just follow suit. And that's what it was today. We saw in team period, the first team period, Holton Hill had a PBU, and we had other guys who had PBUs, big tackles. But just speaking of that, who were some guys in the team period that led the way?
Yeah, and I think there's good veterans to lean on, especially on defense, and that's what Coach Zimmer has mentioned. And one guy is Anthony Harris. You look at this play he made here on Dan Chuzena. He gets in there, it's physical practice, like we said. He knocks the ball away. We know Eric Kendricks can excel in coverage. He does it right there on Kyle Rudolph. Those are 2 veterans. Eric Kendricks and Anthony Harris who played well today. Harrison Smith always shows up. The rookies are starting to look for the veterans as camp goes on, and the veterans certainly led the way today.
Speaking of those veterans, we talk about the veterans. You talk about Harrison Smith, and that moves us to our position battles. The safety position battles, we know Harrison Smith, Ant Harris, the 2 guys that we just saw on the screen, they're going to be the top 2 starters there. But once you start looking, past those 2 guys, you have a good crop of talent right there that can battle for that backup safety, for those 2 backup safety spots. Yeah,
there's 2 backup safety. We know that Harrison Smith and Anthony Harris are the best safety duo in the NFL. There's no question about that. And I like what I've seen so far from Steven Parker, and he's a guy who's only been here for a week or so. We talked about him last week on the show, but he's a guy that brings depth and he brings experience. If you look at most of the guys on that list, they're rookies.
Yep.
And, the Vikings want experience behind Smith and Harris, and Parker has played well. He played 14 games for Miami last year, started 4 games, had a pair of picks. So that experience really helps the room. And while guys certainly lean on Anthony Harris and Harrison Smith, Parker is now another veteran that they can lean on and learn as camp draws on.
You talk about Parker, another guy who has some playing experience, 1 game, but one more game than a lot of these rookies have, is Nate Metters. What can he bring to this defensive back group that can, help show on the field come 2 weeks from now? 2.5 weeks.
Nate brings versatility. So he's actually listed on the roster as a cornerback, and he played that position at UCLA, but he's been lining up at safety throughout camp. Harrison Smith gave him a shout out early on in camp as a guy who provides depth. And Nate knows Mike Zimmer's defense from being in it last year.
Yep.
And, he played that game in Green Bay.
Yep.
So he has NFL experience, and he just, Nate is progressing, but he's a guy who provides depth and some NFL experience, which is, like we said, is more than some guys can say, but he's doing well so far.
You talk about week 1, Green Bay, that's coming up here pretty soon. Nate Metters played in that game last year, but the game this year is going to be really good. And so we leave you guys with a clip that we all hope to see in a couple of weeks from week 1 against Green Bay Packers.